Okay, good evening, everyone, and you're very welcome to our information event this evening for the MSc in Sustainability Leadership. We're absolutely delighted that you could join us this evening. My name is Sharon Coyle, and I am the Academic Director for the programme. I'll kick off the event this evening by just giving you a very brief overview of the programme, and then we will hear from some of our expert lecturers and academics who teach into the programme, as well as some of our current students studying the MSc in Sustainability Leadership. So I want to thank them in advance for joining us this evening in their personal time to share their insights on the programme with you all, and delighted to have you all here so we can talk to you about this wonderful programme that we offer here at the University of Galway. I'll also ensure to leave some time at the end of the event to address any questions that you might have. But please, as the webinar progresses, please feel free to insert any questions you may have into our Q&A function that you should be able to see on your screen. It's also worth noting up front that we do have a very detailed web page for this programme, and that provides you with lots of additional information which you can really drill down on, and you can access that via the link that my colleague Martina will share with you now via the chat function as well. But as I said, any questions at all as we go along, please feel free to raise them, and we'll leave some time at the end to address those questions. Okay, so we'll dive right in and we'll talk a little bit about what our rationale is in terms of having a programme like the MSc in Sustainability Leadership. So if we take a closer look at the rationale, why this particular programme? Why should I study it now? So one of our key objectives in the programme is to really directly address this very obvious identified gap in sustainability leadership skills. And we know, and I'm sure a lot of you that are logged in here this evening, that many organisations are really grappling with this transition towards a sustainable planet, sustainable society, sustainable future, whatever that happens to look like. And we hear about this from industry all the time. So if you look at the example here from SkillNet Ireland in their 2024 report on the future skills and challenges of Irish businesses, they highlighted that almost 2/3 of Irish businesses have stated that their staff will require upskilling in climate action and sustainability for their future success. Like, that is hugely significant, as you can see. So addressing that gap means this programme develops skills that's required to lead on sustainability in your industry, in your organisations, in your own companies. So from this programme, we are really trying to enable students to understand, develop, and deploy strategies for business transformation in the context of sustainability. And of course, actually, in conjunction with that, consider really critically what innovative business models look like in this space, and how we can even create or indeed modify existing business models in line with that overall strategy in driving and promoting sustainability. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of some of the key rationales that we have for looking at this programme. Now, one of the things that we're very proud of on this programme, if you look here, are key features, this combination of key features that we have in the MSc Sustainability Leadership. This is a 2-year part-time flexible learning programme. So it's predominantly delivered online. And as you can imagine, the online delivery approach really allows for those of you, many of you logged in here this evening, working in industry, maybe family commitments, a lot of different things to juggle at the same time. It really allows you to have your learning and your engagement needs on the programme met in a very flexible manner. And that's one of the reasons that we are very proud of this, that it enables that to happen. Now, the classes are delivered primarily online in the evenings, but of course, participants on the programme also benefit from having 4 immersive learning in-person blocks across 2 years. Okay, one of those is, if you look here, the international study trip is a second component. That international study trip is to Bologna in business school in Italy, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a moment. And with regard to the leadership component, that's really about you equipping yourselves with the skills you need to address the challenges, the risks, the opportunities of sustainability and indeed social responsibility in business. So we're very proud as well that we have an integrated curriculum. And what do we mean by that? We are strongly integrated with industry in this program. We have a combination of guest speakers, company visit sites, indeed both here and in Bologna. We've got so many case studies and applied projects that we get you to dive right into. So it's very immersive, it's very integrated, and as you can see, it's a very rich combination of features. Now, I'm not going to spend, long or indeed any length of time going into these modules individually. We're very lucky and very fortunate that we have some speakers here this evening that can talk to some of these directly. But in year one, these are the key modules that you will be looking at: the introduction to sustainability, responsible management and leadership, consumption and the consumer society, and sustainable innovation. Then in year two, you have your core modules on the left-hand side here. Corporate governance and taxation, sustainable information systems, of course, your immersive field trips that I just alluded to, and the economics of sustainability. On the right-hand side, you've got elective models that you can choose from in terms of which areas might strike you as particularly interesting based on your area of expertise, based on your industry, based on your skill set needs going forward. The international study trip to Bologna in Italy is all about really giving you the opportunity here to meet with like-minded individuals, obviously on the MSc in Sustainability Leadership, but you're all striving to achieve similar learning outcomes. You have similar professional career aspirations, perhaps, and the international trip allows you to go beyond that. It builds a very broad international network base and various, touch points for your careers going forward, which of course, may well extend beyond sustainability leadership. So we're very proud of that. And while in Italy, of course, you will visit organizations there in the local region who are leading the way on sustainability transition. You will learn from industry thought leaders in the sustainability space. You will see what's working for them, how they think about it, how they implement it. And you'll collaborate, of course, with students there who are studying the Masters in Sustainability Transition Management at that university. So really, really rich experience. Now, of course, in the 4 immersive learning in-person blocks, one of those is the trip to Italy that I just spoke about, but you will also have field trips here in Ireland, along the west coast of Ireland. We have company site visits, and you experience how companies are transitioning towards a sustainable planet and society. You've lots of guest talks that I alluded to already, and even networking events. So this is really broadening your skills. We've lots of breadth and depth within this program. It's very, very rich in terms of what it can offer you. Now, again, there's lots of detail on the website on this, and I don't really want to use this evening to kind of dive into too much detail on this, but to give you a sense of what it might look like. So for example, if you were to start in year one, week one, you would have a 3 days in a row sequential block, one in-person block of 3 days from the 11th to the 13th of September. And that would happen in week one. But then every other week from weeks 2 to 12, you have 2 live online sessions a week on Tuesday and Thursday evenings, typically around 6:30. So again, coinciding with busy lifestyle and busy working demands, and perhaps a family as well, young families as well. So these live online classes are also supplemented with podcasts, pre-recorded lectures, so everything that we can do to really engage you on the topics that you are studying. And that's typically what our flexible delivery would look like. And of course, the dates that are given here, just note these are actually provisional dates. So you might ask at this point, well, how do I get in? What are the entry requirements? So the applicants that apply should have a minimum of 2 years postgraduate work experience, along with a primary degree across the domain of business, science, engineering, or indeed social science. So a very broad spectrum. There is, of course, the recognition of prior learning entry route to the programme. So applicants who do not meet the formal academic entry requirements can still be considered if they have a minimum of 5 years work experience. So that's very advantageous, obviously. And those candidates would, of course, be interviewed to ascertain their alignment or relevance of their work experience for this programme. Your fees are also listed here. It's worth noting that this fee includes your return flights to Bologna for that in-person block and that immersive learning experience that I spoke to already. But also this would cover your accommodation costs on a shared basis in Italy. Now, if, for example, you wanted a single occupancy accommodation on the trip, you would simply pay a supplement fee for that. It's worth noting that is included there. There are, of course, scholarships available to cover up to 50% of your tuition fees. Now, this includes the 30% club scholarship, which you see here. 30% club partners with higher level institutions like ourselves to provide professional women with scholarships to pursue executive education in their chosen fields. So this is very attractive and very warranted. So the aim of the scholarship is to address the underrepresentation of women pursuing postgraduate management education by offering these scholarships aimed at women. Now, there are, of course, other scholarships available too, which you can find all the details of again on our website that you'll see in the webinar chat. Okay. So of course, as I said already, we are really open to any questions that you might have. Please feel free to use the Q&A function on the webinar to raise questions as we progress with the webinar. If you have any further queries, of course, you can contact our wonderful program administrator, Martina. She's our go-to person for all queries related to the program, but of course, you're welcome to also touch base with myself, and I'll provide some more details around that towards the end of today's session. Okay, so that's a really quick overview from me. I hope you found that useful. I want to kick in to the next segment of this evening, which is really getting our wonderful our speakers here to engage with you and to talk to you about their aspects in terms of how they feed into this program. So next up, we've got Dr. Sheila Malone. Sheila, thanks so much for joining us. Sheila is a lecturer in marketing here at the University of Galway. She's a member of the Academy of Marketing Science, the Academy of Marketing, and is a fellow of the Higher Education Academy. Sheila is also the Associate Head for Learning, Teaching and Assessment here at the Business School, J.E. Cairns School of Business and Economics at the University of Galway. And on the programme for the MSc in Sustainability Leadership, Sheila teaches the module on consumption and the consumerist society. So this module really provides students with a critical understanding of the intersection between consumption and sustainability in what we know is a rapidly changing consumer society. And on that module, there's particular reference and emphasis to sustainable production and consumption. So the floor is yours, Sheila, whenever you're ready. Thank you so much again.
Thanks very much, Sharon. Welcome everybody, welcome this evening, and it's lovely to see you all here. I hardly recognise myself when Sharon introduces me. So I teach a module, one of the first modules you'll have in year one, in semester one. And it's very much underpinned by the Sustainable Development Goal 12, so sustainable production and consumption. It fits with my own areas of research and publication. And what I aim to do is, as much as I can, look at things like the capitalist society, consumption, the roles that we play as consumers, our level of agency, thinking about the roles that we play on an individual level, but then of course the collective forms that feed into that promote greater production of material goods in the world. And what I try to do is make you a very critical thinker, very introspective on yourself, who you are, why you do the things you do, why you consume the way you do, but at the same token, provide a basis by which we might understand that. We might understand the position that we're in, because one of the greatest challenges we're facing currently in the world is the levels of consumption that are happening and the sheer waste that goes with it and planned obsolescence and all of that. So it's really, really fascinating and interesting. Parts of it are very theory driven to help us understand mechanisms that happen in practice. I do two forms of assessment in this module. I like to make it nice and creative. I like to make it that it's applicable to you as an individual and in the roles you play in the jobs that you have and in society. So we do a kind of group recorded podcast. I'll give you an assertion, something that happens that's been stated, what's in the state of play in consumption in society. And I ask you to critically discuss that and develop it in the context of SDG 12. And then you'll do an individual piece, which is very much a reflective essay, thinking about who you are And that's basing it, I suppose, at the ground level. We have a lot of control in terms of how we spend our money, what we do, the choices we make. But then you could argue we are also quite controlled by the marketplace, marketing, society, messages and communications. So the way I run the module is I have a mixed bag. I have a series of industry insight sessions that come from kind of those 20-minute type clip things that you could listen to in the car coming home from work, something like that, from a variety of different industries, generally from chief sustainability officers who are at the cutting edge and forefront of leadership when it comes to sustainability. I ask them, kind of like a fireside session conversations about where they think it's going, what's happening, why is it relevant to their industry, what types of new trends do they see coming, etc. And then I mix that with a series of pre-recorded lecture materials. Again, it allows you to be able to do it in a flexible and agile format so that you can listen to it in, kind of in the luxury of your own time. We're very aware in this program that people are very time pressed. So this is to try to make it as easy as possible for you to learn, I guess. And then we have roughly every other week a live session where we will unpack an idea, tear it apart, think about it, critique it, try and put it back together again, plaster it back up and try and find another way of looking at it. And ultimately there again, it's honing the skills of critical thinking, and it's trying to create a platform where we don't necessarily take what's in front of us at its face value, which we never really should anyway, but thinking about it from different perspectives, different angles, different industry informed kind of positioning, data that's available to us to help us understand trends. And that basically in a nutshell is this module, and we cover our 12 weeks in a a detailed but very interesting format. I like to have our live sessions as engaging as it can be, because the majority of you are coming to this space with a wealth of experience and insight, and it's very important that we share that. It's a collaborative and co-creative experience in that way. And having those people bring those ideas together for me is massively fascinating. I learn from you as much as you will learn from me. And that's it in a nutshell. But if you have any questions, very happy to answer them as well.
Thank you so much for taking the time to go through that in a very, again, comprehensive manner in such a short space of time. So appreciate, Sheila, you sharing your insights with everyone. And as Sheila said, again, feel free to drop questions into the Q&A function. Thanks a million, Sheila. So now we're actually going to hear from one of our students, our current students, Andy McGeady. Thank you so much, Andy, for joining us this evening. Again, personal time eating into your evening. Thank you for taking the time to talk to our prospective students about your perspectives and your experience with this program. I'll hand it over to you now, Andy.
Thanks very much, Sharon. Yeah, my pleasure. Very brief intro. Worked in technology and finance for almost 20 years. I worked as a journalist and broadcaster, and I'm now Chief of Staff to the Ireland head of State Street here in Dublin. What have I most enjoyed about the programme? It's the time together. The blended approach was very appealing to me, and it's actually worked very well. So when I was looking for something to start my sustainability education journey, I looked at a lot of different options: in person, hybrid, and purely remote. And from the moment where I actually got to Galway for that first 3 days, that just made a huge difference, because it transformed how we could then jump into being fully remote, especially when it comes to project work with either another student or small groups, because you kind of met each other and you know what people think and you get their perspectives. On that career aspect, I suppose I came from a different place in that I was trying to move into a sustainability role, having not been there before. I talked to several recruiters who said, listen, you need something on the CV that demonstrates that commitment for someone to essentially take a chance on you. So I did two things. I got a diagonal or straight across move in my old tech finance world and got out of tech and into an ESG transformation program. And then I signed up for this course. That enabled me to build a little bit of a bridge to my future. And what the program, I think, has taught me or helped me work out is where I will land, where I will play a role. So even though I'm now working for a giant fund management business, what I'm trying to do there is work out how that financing thing works. And maybe that's where I help in the long term, or maybe it's my journalism thing comes back. I don't know yet, but learning about all the various aspects and the things I didn't know about sustainability has been hugely, hugely valuable. The one thing Sharon asked me to think about something I really hadn't been expecting. And the one thing that always comes back to me was when we were on the field trips around the west of Ireland. We were in the Thermo King plant in Galway, and I had never realized that every single refrigerated food truck, whether big or small, they all have kind of the same base component, which is a 2-liter diesel engine. So that cooling unit, each one of them is a 2-liter diesel engine. And I'd never, ever considered that in the great transition that's ahead of us, we would have to also think about all of those cooling units, which each do a really important job by keeping produce fresh as it goes around and stop spoilage and waste. We also have to think about that. So that sort of heavy plant, so in an Irish context, heavy industry, not in a Russian or German or Polish. But that was a huge eye-opener to me in terms of here's some of the perspectives that I, in my life and my life experience and my professional experience, it would never even have hit me. What advice would I give anyone considering the program? Well, firstly, look, it's like any MSc. There's lecture time, that's grand. You can kind of mark that off if you commit to it. Free reading, really important because it makes that, it just gives you value in the lecture time, so you're not trying to keep up. You can do good work beforehand. Bringing in your professional and life experience is very, very important because that's part of the use you get from the class. So each one of us, having known where each other comes from, we've, like in our course, for example, there's someone who's spent their career 30 years odd in fast fashion and design. We've got someone from the Defence Forces, we've got someone from law, we've got someone from finance, we could, you know, all these different aspects, biotech, meditech. The current cohort who are in their first year, they'll be different, they'll have a different mix. The cohort that comes in as part of yours will have a different mix again, but it's about actually learning and being open to sharing those experiences in a sort of a fairly high trust way with the lecturers also. And it's been really, really cool. And then the very last part, the life can get in the way. And in our experience, we've had 2 different class reps going through, and anything that we've brought to them and raised with either the course heads or directly with lecturers, it's never been an issue as long as we brought things up, whether it's scheduling of various deadlines or if we just need a break with something. They've always listened and we've been able to come to some mature, practical solution. So in summary, I was actually at my desk this morning looking at my calendar and going, I won't have lectures past May. And it was kind of a weird feeling because it'll be greatly satisfying when I'm finished, but I'll kind of miss it as well. But I know that the group will stay tight for a long time. And that's kind of all I have to give here.
Andy, thank you so much. I really, you know, it was almost heartwarming hearing you talk about that kind of shared connection across such a variety of students, right? In terms of such a variety of different industries that our students can come from. Thanks so much for kind of being so open and honest with the insights that you shared. I know that prospective students will find that incredibly valuable and useful. And again, thanks for taking the time. And we wish you the very best of luck in your final months on the Masters. I cannot wait to see you at graduation. And of course, at the finish line as well. And of course, you know, as I'll mention to Jennifer in a while, you know, please do remain in contact with us into the future. We love to see where your careers take you, you know. So thanks again very much, Andy, for that. Okay, so now I'm delighted to welcome Marie Laffey to our session this evening. Now, Marie is our head of the Career Development Centre here at the University of Galway. She leads a team of 24 career professionals who provide high quality support to over 18,000 students. Marie is a qualified coach and careers consultant with an MSc in adult guidance, a postgraduate qualification in exec leadership, a BSc in education and training, and a BSc in computer science. She is also currently a PhD researcher and has 15 years of experience in the ICT sector. So her leadership experience is particularly relevant to this programme because she supports you in developing your employability skills necessary for careers in sustainability. So Marie is a very strong advocate for equality and inclusion, and has received both national and international awards for her work supporting students with disabilities in their transition to the workplace. So really, again, delighted to welcome you, Marie. I appreciate it's getting late in the evening, so thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, Sharon. I'm just going to share my screen with a few slides. If you can let me know that you can see them.
Sure, we can see them
now. Loading now.
Thanks, Marie.
Is that okay? So good evening, everybody. Delighted to be here. I meet the Masters in Sustainability students in your orientation in September, and it's a great class to be involved with. I think doing this particular Masters is really about the advocacy and the interest in the environment, and wanting to do much more. And as you'll see, this particular sector is the second fastest growing sector over the next 10 years. And I'm just going to just talk a little bit about what we do. We're actually a team of 30 now, Sharon, team of 30, and I'll just talk about the master support and what we'll give you. So just, in terms of our aim is to provide that guidance, or high quality guidance, to our students. We actually employ AI tools and so on in order to extend our reach to students. So even if, for example, you're working remote, you can still access our tools and access our services remotely. So for example, just in terms of what the Career Development Centre is made up of, we have a careers and employability team. That's our guidance, our advice. So if you're thinking about your next steps, and particularly the executive coaching, I offer that service to the MBA class, also to the master's class, and I've already had queries for the next steps for those students who are finishing up and looking to see where this master's is going to take them. We have careers education. We support you for 3 years after graduation, so 3 years after. So the way I look at it is you're getting an executive coach almost for 5 years, and that's all part and free if you were to pay that, how much that would cost. We have, as I said, supported by our AI tools. We have a virtual information library that has every single thing you need to know from a careers perspective, and we've built that out since COVID, and last year we had nearly 100,000 students and interaction landings just on that library alone. So we do support placement, and for some programs, both undergrad and postgrad, we have about 70 programs supporting also in careers. About 2,500 students. We have about 5,000 direct links to employers who are active employers. We provide disability supports, and every program is supported by a placement officer. We have an employability award that actually won national and global awards, as well as our transitioning and supporting of students. The employability award won a global careers award last year, and national education award. So we really set the bar and the trend in terms of the supporting our students. So over 3,000 students have completed that, and that's actually probably going to increase to probably 3.5 by the end of this academic year. It's really focusing on building employability skills. It's open to anyone in terms to build that. It goes on diploma supplement as well, and really looking at those employability skills around CV, interview skills, and looking at skills gaps. And we bring employers to help address what those gaps might be and deliver it directly to students. We record a lot of those as well. So even if you can't attend on campus when they're on, we have a bank of recordings up in that SharePoint library that you can refer back to in terms of employers that you might be interested in. You might be interested to see what they're saying. And the final piece is like really strong for us is that employer engagement. We have a lot of employers who want to come in, meet students, target specific classes. You would be one of those classes. We support in terms of job markets, employer of the week. We have our fairs and jobs database. We had a fair last week or 2 weeks ago, our internship fair. We've hundreds of jobs gone up for students and graduates and early careers and so on. And because also as well, we would advertise those more experienced jobs, but particularly for our postgrads, and that we're supporting with 3 hours for 3 years. Employers are really interested in using that portal as well in terms of those jobs. So this is our digital toolkit. This is our SharePoint library. As I said, everything you need to know brings you across to different pathways. We have our digital toolkit, Careers Connectors, our student portal. You'll automatically be registered on that. Big Interview is our mock interview tool. You could access that remotely and also access it after you graduate for 3 years, and it's at any level. So you could be senior level, going for a senior exec interview, and you can pitch and structure your interview from an AI perspective at that level and practice those questions. CareerSet is our mock interview, is our CV builder. That's also integrated with ChatGPT and really helping you to tailor your CV to the job that you're looking for. And then obviously SharePoint then is our library. So in terms of our check next. So if we look at the type of reach we have with students, we would have about 20,000 students engaged with our events, both at undergrad and postgrad last year alone. We are seeing that will probably exceed again this year. A lot of things we do when we work with our students is understanding where you are in your career journey, and we target to you. So you can see there our CareerSet, over 90,000 CVs reviewed to date since we've used it. 30,000 interview questions, and I say that went up to 100,000 for last year. So by employing AI, we're using modern tools that suit the lifestyles of our students, and particularly our postgrads that can't come on campus to meet with us. You have that opportunity to use these tools to support your career journey. So then if I look at program support, as I said, we support you for 3 years. You can have a one-to-one careers advisor or executive coaching session with myself. Type of topics that we would have, particularly at your level and master level, will be that self-awareness, navigating next steps, how to make the most of LinkedIn. With CV sessions for experienced hires. You may have mock interview. We've done lots of mock interviews with our master students who are going on to roles. And then, as I said, that executive coaching for you. So one of the things I would say is that thinking about what brought you into this Zoom room today? What has brought you? Something piqued your interest? What brought you into the room? And as Andy spoke about for himself doing the course and his motivations, think really about what's your motivation. And we'll talk a little bit about that if you looked at the landscape today. So we're seeing the green transition and ESG standards leading the way in job growth. So it's the second fastest growing job sector in the world at the moment over the next 10 years. We're seeing 30 million jobs globally will be created in this space. And with the emergence of AI, we're going to see about 90 million jobs being replaced and displaced. But one of the key things that keeps coming up time again is this area of green and sustainability leadership, that these are jobs that will not be replaced anytime soon. So they're really future-proofing your career by doing a master's in sustainability leadership. And when we look at companies and what's being required from a legislation perspective and the trends that are happening in the business, you can see the growth in terms of the adoption of sustainability, and there are targets that we have to get to. Every company has to get to that. And so 75% Deloitte here in 2023 have increased their sustainability investments. That increase in investments means increase in roles, means increase in consultancy and jobs. And as you can see there, it's the second fastest growing in terms of jobs, and that's coming from the World Economic Forum. And when you drill down into that, you're looking at leaders, consultants, and then the expertise in the areas of green energy, renewable energy, carbon footprint, and so on. And this program definitely gives you that really broad overview to really position you to a very strong career trajectory in a job that's actually future-proof. With regards to the impact that AI is going to bring. So if we look at I went online yesterday and I said, okay, what are the jobs that are out there in LinkedIn alone? What are the jobs that are out there? This is a sample of the jobs that are out there at the moment regarding ESG. These are live jobs currently on LinkedIn at the moment. And I looked and saw, just using the words leadership and manager. I didn't use consultant, and I didn't use, the different SME expertise, but just for leadership alone and consultancy, 158 open roles in Ireland at the moment. And you can see the vast majority of these are in director, management, leadership, and they're out there at the moment. And they look for courses like this as qualifications to join these particular positions. So you're really setting yourself up for success when you think of a course like this and you're looking for that next step for you. And whether that's in your own company and they're looking for people to expand more and move up into these roles, this particular program actually is one that's going to actually get you that next step on the ladder. But as I said, second fastest growing sector at the moment, and over the next 10 to 15 years. So you're really looking at job proofing yourself by moving into this sector. Whether you decide on the masters or not, moving into the sector, this and automation are the two top sectors that we are forecasting. So when I go back to what your motivation was, what brought you into the Zoom room today, and looking, so that was your short-term goal, was to attend this session and to attend and find out information about this program and whether it's going to meet your goals for that long-term vision of what you want. And so if you look about that, you need to think about, well, how am I going to get there? And so the Masters in Sustainability is your leadership, is your bridge to get into that long-term vision with regards to moving into these roles and looking at future-proofing in terms of your career in a sector that is having really exponential growth. And we can see that all the time from employers and demand for graduates but more so leadership roles within this sector. So if you want to follow us and you want to see more about what we do, you can follow us on any of our platforms here, social media platforms, and see the type of events and things we're doing if you have any queries or anything like that. And that's it from me. So best of luck to everybody on their next steps.
Thank you so much, Marie. And I guess a big thank you from us in terms of your continued support of our students, our professional student cohort. You can see there, anyone that's watching, like the extent of the reach and the support and the knowledge that Marie and her colleagues offered to our students. They go above and beyond. So thank you so much, Marie, for joining this evening again and sharing this with our students. I think your statistics clearly emphasize in a much cleaner manner than mine did in terms of the growth in this space, the need for skills in this area around leading sustainability initiatives across organizations, and how there's such a big gap there. And wow, I did not realize through LinkedIn alone that there were that many calls.
Yeah, and I think just to say that's just in Ireland. So, you know, any sort of sustainability leadership masters can actually take you anywhere in the world. Because it is such, this is the number one priority for companies and governments and so on. So like that's just, and that was just LinkedIn alone. I think that when I put in the word sustainability jobs into LinkedIn, in Ireland, there was over 400 jobs on LinkedIn alone, and that's not other platforms, it's just LinkedIn alone. And so again, it's you really position yourself well when you start to upskill. And one of the things that we're being required to look at is that learning agility in terms of upskilling and bringing the knowledge that companies will require and skills, and that's how you're going to future-proof yourself. You know, the learning just doesn't stop. Yet, as you said, I'm doing a PhD. I'm 56 tomorrow. We won't tell anyone, right? And like,
it's just a live webinar. Don't worry.
So the learning doesn't stop. You keep learning. If you want to upskill, you keep learning. So best of luck to everybody after that.
So thank you so much, Marie. Appreciate your time, really do. So we're going to move in to another student who has very kindly given up her time as well. Jennifer Loftus joins us this evening. Thank you, Jennifer, as well for taking the time out to speak to our prospective professional student cohort that are attending here this evening. Appreciate any insights that you can share with them.
You're very welcome. So firstly, happy birthday, Marie, in advance of tomorrow. I never would have guessed your age. And who knows, I might be doing a PhD in my 50s yet. Just following on from what you've said, Marie, around sustainability roles, and they're becoming kind of, increasingly more prevalent. I don't work in a sustainability role, but sustainability has become massively relevant to my role. So sustainability, it doesn't just infiltrate, the sustainability sphere. Sustainability is now relevant to so many roles, particularly across leadership roles. So I work in the insurance sector, and I'm a CFO. I also am heavily involved in influencing strategy and inputting to strategic direction. I was prompted to do this course for a number of reasons. So first of all, the insurance sector is heavily regulated, and in recent years, an awful lot of the regulation has had a sustainability theme. All of it EU driven. So firstly, we have the SFDR, which is a Sustainable Financial Disclosures Regulation, and that relates to policyholders' investments. So the funds that we would offer to our policyholders. But we're also going to be in scope for CSRD, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, at the end of this year. And that will require an enormous amount of reporting at a very, very granular level across environmental, social and governance factors. And crucially, it doesn't just relate to the specific company that's preparing the CSRD report. You actually have to report across the entire value chain. So given the legislation, I knew that I needed to upskill in the area of sustainability. But on top of that, I suppose I'm probably halfway through my career at the moment, so we'll call it maybe a mid-career crisis. Purpose is becoming more and more important to me in terms of what I do, and you know, getting fulfillment and a sense of purpose out of my job. And that was one of the reasons why, in addition to then kind of the technical upskilling, why this particular course appealed to me, because I really thought that the content of the modules would tick an awful lot of boxes for me in terms of the purpose piece. I won't lie, I was very apprehensive about applying for it. Like so many people, I presume, on this Zoom call, and a lot of people in our class, including Andy, I have a very demanding day job. Like Andy, I also have 2 small kids. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to actually kind of sustain the pace, just in terms of actually meeting the demands of the course. I will say flexibility was the game changer for me in terms of the evening lectures. The recorded lectures, I wasn't able to join every lecture, but I was always able to engage kind of at times or during windows that worked for me, and that made all the difference for me. Another factor that swung it for me was the fact that there was no thesis, there was no capstone thesis. So I won't lie, it's intense. Andy, I'm sure you'll agree with me. It's not a walk in the park, and it can be very demanding at times. But that this structure was still preferable to kind of a 3-month thesis, for example. In terms of advice that I would give around kind of the workload, if you do have a demanding job and you have other commitments, I think planning is really important, and just knowing your assignment deadlines well in advance, and being able to plan windows in which you can actively engage with the material. And just in terms of what I've enjoyed so much. It's been one of the best decisions that I've made embarking on this course. I have particularly enjoyed the interactions with our class. It's amazing to think that most of our interactions have happened over WhatsApp, and we've really bonded over WhatsApp. The field trips were brilliant in terms of kind of making initial connections and reconnecting. The induction 3 days in Galway were also really, really helpful in terms of kind of creating bonds. And then we were able to cement those bonds through the group projects, actually, and then via the Bologna trip and the Galway trips. I was also really apprehensive about the prospect of group projects. It didn't really appeal to me initially, but that's been actually one of those things I've enjoyed. And in particular, learning from people who have different life experiences to me and who work in different fields and bring a completely different perspective to the table. And I think that's really helpful in terms of system thinking, which is really, really important in terms of sustainability strategy, articulating sustainability strategy and solving kind of sustainability related problems. And, you know, our class, I think there are 10 in our class. They are diverse in so many respects in terms of life experience, in terms of gender, in terms of professional experience, but also in terms of age. I think our class range from people in their 20s to people in their 50s. And that brings a huge amount of kind of a wealth to it as well in terms of diversity of thought. I'm just thinking, is there anything else I have forgotten to mention? Another thing that surprised me, I guess, was, and something that I think has been really invaluable in terms of what I have gleaned from this course, is the critical thinking piece and around, you know, challenging my own confirmation biases. So before I embarked on the course, you know, I would have been a really, really strong advocate for responsible business, ethical business and corporate social responsibility. And I would have been of the mindset that, you know, a company with positive D&I credentials will perform better than the average company, and a company that has, that has good gender balance, say, on their board, that has demonstrated a strong commitment to, say, LGBTQ plus issues, to environmental issues, is going to perform really well from a kind of profitability perspective. That's not necessarily the case. It's the right thing to do, absolutely, but it doesn't necessarily, strong sustainability credentials don't necessarily translate to kind of successful or more successful business. And I just think that's something that that's really important to consider as well. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, but you can't naively assume that it's going to tick all the boxes. But I have no regrets, and like Andy, I've actually been really looking forward to the lectures on the Tuesday evenings and the Thursday evenings. I've learned so much from the lecturers, guest lecturers, as well as our own class, and yeah, it's been a hugely rewarding experience.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. Like Andy, I actually love hearing from the students on the programme, their perspectives, their insights, and even those different stories around what surprised you both in unique ways to your own professional careers, your own personal perspectives. So thanks very much as well for being so open and honest in sharing your experiences in terms of, what you found insightful and things that really helped you. And I'm delighted to hear that you look forward to the evening lectures. I can imagine that that's not something after a very long, busy day at work with 2 young children. That can be something that wouldn't necessarily be looking forward to, but I'm really happy and proud of the programme actually that was the case for you, for your individual experience. So like Andy, I'm looking forward to seeing you on the other side at the graduation ceremony in the coming months. So well done to you both, and thanks again so much for sharing those really nice, useful insights with the cohort that are here this evening. Okay, so now I'm delighted to welcome Dimitri Bridgekoff. We are absolutely delighted, Dimitri, that you could join us. Dimitri is a lecturer in marketing. His research interests include sustainable marketing practices, consumer behaviour, and the role of marketing in promoting sustainable futures. Dimitri teaches the Net Zero Ireland simulator module of the MSc Sustainability Leadership. His module focuses on the benefits, opportunities, and synergies associated with climate neutral, climate resilient, and sustainable decisions and transformations. The primary objective for this course is to enable you, the students, to successfully lead environmental and sustainability efforts in organisations. So Dimitri, we're delighted that you could join us this evening. I'll stop my screen share now, so in case you want to share some of your own pieces as we go. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I would like to share a few of my slides, just as please. Oh, hopefully it is shared. And I go to the review mode. I wonder if it's shared right now. Yeah, okay, so my module is called Net Zero Ireland Simulator, and as Sharon said, I will be most happy to answer all your questions, any kind of details and information about this module. And I would like to start my presentation with 2 brief quotes. One from the movie called Back to School, and it shows a professor teaching an economics class at a college, and he says, so rather than waste your time this semester with a lot of useless theories, we are going to jump right in with both feet and create a fictional company from the ground up. We'll construct our physical plant, we'll set up an efficient administrative and executive structure, then we manufacture our product and market it. Well, the course probably is very interesting that this professor is teaching, but I definitely would like to oppose such kind of attitude. In our module, we will be relying, it's a practical module, but it will be rooted deeply in different theories. And I would like to quote the words by a famous psychologist called Levin: there is nothing as practical as a good theory. And one of the theories that we rely on in building our simulator game, it's a theory and the concept about provisioning systems. And provisioning system is a network of economic and social exchanges to satisfy a human need. Such a very simple explanation. There are different types of provisioning systems, like prescriptive top-down exchange system, like, for example, education system, or marketing systems, any kind of business systems, or bottom-up informal or collaborative systems, like, for example, cooperatives, different types of NGOs, and black markets. So there is a different typology of provisioning systems. And we rely heavily on the publication by Professors Layton and Domigan, The Next Normal for Marketing, and I would definitely recommend you this. It's a great reading and a very interesting article which describes the concept of provisioning systems. An interesting feature of provisioning system is that they constantly evolve, they constantly change in response to certain external factors, like, for example, COVID pandemics, or a climate change, or the arrival of Trump administration. They change their exchange of goods and services, ideas, experiences, and tools. And they change our patterns of daily life, which also affect the provisioning systems and how these external factors actually develop. And our idea was to create sort of a simulation-based serious game, which will show such kind of provisioning system, an entity representing a business marketing system, a bakery company, SME bakery company, which will be responding to different external factors, like, for example, climate change, and implementing certain measures, certain business model strategies, as Sharon called them. And the concept of a serious game, it's actually a synergy of simulation and gaming. And simulations are actually, they show a low level of interaction. They mostly interact with computer, but they're very strong in modeling the reality. While gaming, just opposite to this, they exhibit very strong interactive capacity, intergroup and intragroup, but they are actually quite low in reality modeling. So by merging these two worlds and playing around different situations, we could create a very interesting tool for example, reaching sustainability or practicing sustainability. And this is our conceptual model of our simulator serious game. So as I mentioned, we have a bakery company at the very center, and it operates within and with certain provisioning systems within a certain social matrix and natural environment. And in this game, we have several roles which represent this company of a sustainability officer, financial manager, marketing manager, and production manager. And these management people, they implement certain sustainability-oriented measures in different areas like raw material production, packaging, production itself, distribution of our commodity, which is bread, primary packaging, end of life, recycling of our packaging. And all these sustainability measures have certain outcomes, certain consequences, both environmental and financial. And we measure these and we constantly keep track of these consequences, especially in the field of carbon footprint. And we do this on the basis of life cycle assessment, which is a viable tool for measuring environmental performance of different companies. And we're guided by certain rules, supporting materials, and different data. So this is in principle the conceptual model of our serious game. And just to give you a little bit of taste of our game, this is one of these interfaces. Is actually quite simple. We have a carbon footprint on the left side in absolute terms. We start the game with something like over 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. And we have baseline condition and condition of each decision. And at the very bottom, you could see the decision. For example, we decide to change energy mix by switching to electric ovens and the explanation of this decision. In the center, you could see the financial performance of the company. You could track energy bills. You could monitor all costs. You could evaluate sales, gross profit, and you constantly monitoring or constantly keep track of the sustainability budget. This is our key financial indicator for sustainability. And on the right side, we have life cycle assessment, which evaluates environmental performance of our company in kilograms CO2 equivalent per kilogram of product. And it's a very actually viable tool which shows your performance within different areas. For example, from this very simple graph, you could see that the biggest environmental performance impact of our company is actually in raw materials. It's cultivation of wheat, it's milling. So this actually gives 60% of our carbon footprint, which is in line with different companies. Like, for example, if you go to the sustainability reports of the different companies, you could see that their carbon footprint is mostly driven by scope 3 emissions. So this is in principle how we play this game. We take different decisions through different years, 7 years, and we keep track of environmental, financial performance, and try to combine both of these worlds and try to get some insights about these decisions and about sustainability leadership, acquiring these kind of skills that were mentioned. And by playing this game, so the key interlinked learning objectives, it's trying to analyze and manage provisioning systems and their transitioning to more sustainable future, trying to see the trade-offs, the different consequences of our sustainability decisions, and develop critical understanding of environmental contexts and sustainability in a business context. We also, by playing around such tools as life cycle assessment, will learn the basics of system thinking. And when I mentioned provisioning system concept, it's very much a system thinking tool of understanding a reality. And we also work playing in teams. It's very interactive, very interesting. It's a way of sharing your opinions, your perspectives, because you're role-playing, you're playing the roles of managing director or financial director. You learn how to do these decisions within teams. And we constantly work with data. We're given different exercises on data analysis and data discovery. We develop data discovery skills. So this is in principle the main concept behind this module. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Dimitri, for sharing those wonderful insights. I can really appreciate the hands-on nature of this and the relevance of it to sustainability leadership. So thank you so much and I appreciate the fact that you had to do that in a very compressed amount of time. So thank you very, very much. We appreciate you taking the time to do that. And of course, as Dimitri said, please feel free to raise any questions you might have in the Q&A function. Thanks, Dimitri.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to very quickly just reshare my screen here. Let's see. Just a little bit skewed, but that's okay. So just have, I guess this is a segment here where I have some concluding remarks. I think really, I hope that from this session this evening, you've really got some insight into kind of the importance of sustainability leadership in terms of, you know, what industry is demanding, the experience from our students, what, you know, our head of career development centre here at the University of Galway is saying about this space. And I hope that you have found the information that's given in this evening's webinar very useful to you. I see we have just a few specific questions in the Q&A that are very related to, you know, the assessment weightings, evaluation in the programme and things like that. Now, we're happy to take those particular questions offline because they're very specific to modules on the programme. And again, you can really drill down into some of those details through the website. So AJ, we're happy to discuss those with you a little bit further offline, but because they're very specific to learning assessments and outcomes on the actual programme, we'll dive into those a little bit deeper with you. And indeed, I can see Jennifer and Martina maybe providing some additional insights there with you on that as well. For the purpose of this webinar, obviously this is recorded, so, you know, for those of you that might have had to leave a little bit earlier due to other evening demands that you might have, we'll now wrap up the webinar. We're now, you know, about an hour into it, so I think this is a good time to close off on the session. Obviously, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to Martina or myself. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you have, follow up on questions that you might have. And I just really want to express my sincere thanks to everyone, including our panelists this evening and everyone that has joined us for this information event. It's been a pleasure hosting this for you, and I wish you all every success in whatever career path you choose next, and whatever, you know, programs or learning journeys that you go on. I wish you the very best of luck in all your respective careers. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a lovely evening. Thank you.